San Diego in September, another beautiful Southern California day for the D-backs. We're at Petco Park, where the D-backs are hoping to work their way toward a split of this four-game series with the Padres. It's the dawn of the Chris Owings at second base trial run. Owings back in the starting lineup, but now back at second tonight as we get set for game 3 of 4 here against the Padres on Fox Sports Arizona. Greetings from Petco Park. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly along the way. The Diamondbacks lost here last night on a walk-off home run by rookie Corey Spangenberg against Brad Ziegler, who we come to find out has been pitching for the last 2 months with a knee injury. Here's Brad Ziegler after the game last night.
June 27th, in conditioning drill before the game, I felt a little pop and it felt kind of crunchy in there, and then we've done a couple MRIs and there's some frayed cartilage under the kneecap, but it was something I want to try to fight through as long as I could, for sure. And we didn't know if rehab would take care of it or not, and at least to this point it's still there. We're still trying the rehab thing, and but it's still, just even on the days I don't pitch, it's still frustrating to deal with. But like I said, when I'm out there on the mound, I don't feel it. I think it's arthroscopic, where they would essentially just kind of smooth over the fraying so that when the kneecap's rubbing on it, it doesn't irritate it anymore. But it's, give it a smooth edge. But we haven't, we've discussed it a little bit. We haven't gone into, exactly, what we need to do, and haven't gotten a second opinion yet or anything like that. So it's just something we've been trying to manage all season.
Well, Bob, Brad gave us the date, June 27th, and you can see since then the numbers have been very different.
Well, it was obvious there was something wrong with Brad Ziegler. We didn't know if it was arm-related or, as we've come to find out, knee-related. But given where the Diamondbacks are this season and evaluation moving forward, I think the wisest thing would be to shut Brad down, go ahead and get the surgery so he's at 100% when spring training starts again next year. Certainly he's earned the respect of his teammates and his coaching staff and his manager for what he tried to do. But I think it's time to make the wise choice.
And we'll see what the Diamondbacks do from here moving forward with Brad Ziegler. When we come back, we'll look ahead to first pitch tonight. It's Josh Colmenter for the Diamondbacks and Andrew Kashner for the Padres. First pitch coming up next from San Diego, right here on Fox Sports Arizona. Be throwing out the first pitch on September 3rd. And what does he have in common with the Padres mascot? Diamondbacks and Padres. First pitch is next right here on Fox Sports Arizona. And the Padres' third of a 4-game series on Fox Sports Arizona. And your Arizona Ford starting pitcher for San Diego. His 15th start this season, right-hander Andrew Cashner. Here's the Diamondbacks, Cliff Pennington.
He's got, top-level stuff. Got a great arm, great changeup, nasty slider. He's a good one. I mean, he's one of the best. When he's out on the mound and healthy, he's as about as good as it gets. So it's going to be a day that we're going to have to go out there and lock it in and put some good at bats on him.
Andrew Cashner has been on the disabled list twice this year, first with elbow pain, then shoulder soreness. The shoulder problem kept him out for more than 2 months. Tonight, just his third start since he came off the DL.
Yeah, you heard Penny talking about his arsenal out there on the mound as we get underway here. First pitch is low for a ball. There was a time Cashner was just a 4-seam fastball, straight changeup, didn't really have a slider, didn't have a good feel for it, but he's really worked hard on developing that 2-seamer, a sinking fastball that he can use to get ground balls from time to time, and that's become his best secondary pitch.
Ender Inciarte leads it off for the D-backs. Back in center field tonight, A.J. Pollock has the night off after his return yesterday. Ender 266 and 3 homers. Corey Blazer is our plate umpire tonight. Lovely cool night in San Diego here in early September. And a gorgeous sunny day today. Cashner immediately runs it full on the leadoff man. 3-2 to Inciarte. 2 starts since coming off the DL with the shoulder soreness. This will be his second against the Diamondbacks post DL. Last time was a little less than 2 weeks ago. He strikes out Inciarte. The last time Cashner was kept under 90 pitches as a precaution. Now Bud Black says the Padres this month are at the point where they are ready to kind of take the leash off Cashner by just letting him go pitch, and we may see that here tonight.
Yeah, Cashner's only gone over 100 pitches one time this season. That was back in the middle of April. Won 108 pitches in that ball game. Every other start this year under 100.
Chris Owings, his first start since June 25th. Welcome back. A left shoulder strain that kept him out all of July and August. 276 on the year for Chris, and he's got himself a base hit right back in the swing of things after he grounded out in a pinch hit appearance last night. Chris Owings a 1-out single to get us started. This is the lineup for Kirk Gibson's Diamondbacks against the right-hander Andrew Cashner.
Ciarte once again at the top of the order. Chris Owings just ripped one into left field. His first start since June 25th. David Peralta out in right field. Mark Trumbo at first base. Miguel Montero, good numbers against Cashner in his career. Alfredo Marte in left field. Cliff Pennington at third base tonight. Didi Gregorius at short. And right-hander Josh Colmenter on the mound.
David Peralta looks at strike one. 292, 7 homers for David. He had a pair of hits in last night's ball game. He's hit in 5 straight. Chris Owings on the run. That is over the glove of Spangenberg at second. It's going to roll all the way to the wall, and here comes CO. Peralta heads for third, and he will make it with an RBI triple. That's the 9th triple this year for rookie David Peralta. 1-0 D-backs.
He absolutely smoked that ball right over the head of Spangenberg at second base. It looked like Reimer Liriano had a pretty good angle to cut that ball off and keep it from going all the way to the wall, but just got to the spot over there, kind of ran right past the baseball. Chris Owings held up momentarily to make sure that line drive got through the infield. By the time Venable gets it back into the cutoff man, Peralta's at third base with a triple.
Mark Trumbo fouls the first one back, 0-1. These big National League West ballparks. And Peralta has the speed and runs like a freight train so often to take advantage and get the extra base. That's 9 triples over essentially a 3-month span. And a nice catch by a fan here. 0-2 on Trumbo.
This one kind of ricocheted around, popped up, looked like it was headed for the lower deck. Nice save.
Quick hands there. Just hang on to the railing. Infield in. That is skied in the air to shallow right field. Spangenberg's out there. Liriano will take it. Peralta bluffs and holds at third. Let's take a look at the Padres behind their right-hander Andrew Cashner tonight.
Got Smith, Venable, and Liriano left to right across the outfield for the Padres tonight. Solarte and Amarista on the left side of the infield. Spangenberg and Grandal on the right side. Rene Rivera once again doing the catching for right-hander Andrew Cashner.
I saw the rookie Spangenberg make his major league debut at third base. He is almost exclusively, or has been, a second baseman in the minor leagues, and he's in there for Jerko tonight. They got to get that sorted out. Jerko came up as a third baseman. He's been playing second. Spangenberg came up as a second baseman. He was playing third.
Let's see. What could the solution possibly be?
I can't imagine. Maybe they'll sort that out, Bud Black and company, once the season ends. But Spangenberg back at second. I think he's doing his taxes over there or something. A lot of paperwork. Graphs and notes and charts and the whole thing.
More information than anybody should have available.
Miguel Montero. What did you have? Did you just have a card in the back pocket and a pen, or?
Well, we always had the notebook, kind of the detailed advanced report and spray charts and all that stuff. We always had that notebook on the bench available, but I used to just go through and kind of condense everything down and keep notes on my actual lineup card that I had in my back pocket. And if there was ever a question during the course of the ball game, you could always go back and refer to the encyclopedia, but you just try to condense everything and make it usable information.
Then you had Bob Melvin with all his colored pens and highlighters and everything. There's Henry Blanco, the assistant hitting coach, doing some charting.
And then we had the late, great Bob Welch, our pitching coach. I've told this story before, but I always get a chuckle out of it. Kurt Schilling's first start of the year. He's fouled out a play down the third base line. Should get down. Game's going on. It's maybe the fourth inning or so, and he had kind of a lengthy inning. So I said, Welchie, how many pitches does he have? And Bob Welch looked down at the clicker, and it said 0-0-4. He had stopped counting pitches after the first batter of the ball game.
He forgot?
Well, details, like that were not important to him. He used his eyes, and he could see what was going on out there on the mound. He probably had a real good estimation of how many pitches Kurt had thrown, but the clicker said 004.
Well, that's good news for you. He's only thrown 4 pitches.
Here in the 4th.
Probably go deep into the ball game that way.
Yeah, clerical duties were not high on Welch's list, but boy, you took a pitcher down in the bullpen and tried to straighten out mechanical issues or psychological issues, and he was as good as they get.
Miggy hanging in there against Cashner, 0-2. Trying to get that run home from third. There's another souvenir. Miguel Montero, a walk and an RBI single last night. That's after his 2-hit day in Monday's series opener. Pitch number 7 coming up.
And even though Bud Black said they'd like to go ahead and let Cashner go as long as he's effective, run up some pitch counts early in the ball game, at least it would give you some pause over there in that first base dugout whether you wanted to extend Cashner too far if that pitch count gets up there in a hurry.
Just his 3rd start since he came off the DL, missed 2 months with a sore shoulder, and he strikes out Montero and strands the runner at 3rd. But the Diamondbacks put up a run in the top of the 1st. David Peralta, his 9th triple of the season, drives in Chris Owings back in his 1st start. And the Diamondbacks score first in San Diego. Nothing lead already, his 24th start of the season, matching a career high set 3 years ago. A win today would also match his career best 10th set in that rookie season of 2011. Hervé Solarte drills the first pitch down the right field line. A leadoff single for San Diego. So Josh Colemente, your Arizona Ford starting pitcher. He has been outstanding his last 2 starts. Here's Kirk Gibson.
A lot of starts getting on his arm. We backed him off. He laid off of the the in-between throwing. Gave him 7 days in between starts. Seemed to freshen him up a lot. Had a lot more life on his fastball. I think his changeup's not as good as it was, throughout his career. So I think he's starting to get that back as well. So there you have it. The last 2 games real good for us.
Yeah, total of 14 in the 3rd innings pitched, 6 hits allowed, only 1 earned run, 13 strikeouts, and no walks in his last 2 starts against the Colorado Rockies and these Padres.
Alexi Amarista Josh Colmenter, 6 1/3 innings of 2-hit ball on Friday against the Rockies. Did not get a decision there. Just missed a complete game in the start previous to that when he went 8 1/3. Only 4 hits in a win over these Padres. And he's got a 1-0 lead here. Amarista pops it up to shortstop. Didi Gregorius calling for it. There's the first out. There's the lineup for Bud Black, San Diego Padres against Josh Colmenter.
Solarte led it off with a base hit. Amarista popped out to short. Seth Smith will follow. Yasmani Grandal once again at first base. Rene Rivera doing the catching. Will Venable out in center field. A rare start for him. Reimer Liriano in right. Corey Spangenberg at second base. And Andrew Cashner, the right-hander, on the mound.
Well, Bob, if Kirk Gibson says Josh Colmenter's changeup hasn't been quite as good as it has been in the past, and we know how important he needs that pitch, it's got to be good to keep people off his fastball. How does he get through this, and how does he continue to pitch as well as he has the last 2 starts?
Well, and maybe throw more fastballs, maybe mix in more curveballs. We've seen Josh use that pitch sparingly this season. Some starts a little bit more than others, but it's a good off-speed pitch for him if he feels like opposing teams are getting on his changeup a little bit. And more than anything else, just make sure you don't make mistakes with the changeup. If you're trying to hit the bottom of the zone, make it lower than low. If you're trying to hit the outside corner, either hit the corner or miss farther away. Try not to make mistakes in the middle with your changeup.
Well, he's been careful here with the left hand hitting Seth Smith, and there is something of a shift on for Smith by the D-backs. Pennington, the third baseman, playing at shortstop. Gregorius right behind the bag at second. And Smith hits right into the shift and through it. Solarte on his horse heads for third.
Baby shift. Chris Owings playing pretty much in a regular second base position. Didi was shaded way up the middle, and Cliff Pennington was over toward the shortstop position, but Smith finds a way to bang it through that right side, putting Padres at first and third.
For Yasmani Grandal back at first tonight. 3 hits in the series, 212 on the year with 11 homers. All 11 of those home runs for the switch hitter coming from the left-hand side. Ball and a strike. Josh Colmenter always says location is the key for him. If he can spot that fastball in and out and keep opposing hitters from locking on to his changeup and his curveball, he will be successful, and he's done that in his last 2 starts.
Possible pickoff on at third base that time with the left-handed batter. Miggy has a clear throwing lane right down that third baseline, but that time just kind of lost the handle on the ball. You see Cliff Pennington sneaking in as the pitch was being delivered. Unfortunately, Miggy dropped the ball.
It's in these types of counts where Colmenter has been getting into trouble. 2-1, 3-1.
One way to avoid that trouble. Hitters counts when a hitter is most likely to look for a fastball, a count that most pitchers would throw a fastball, and Josh instead threw a 79-mile-an-hour changeup for a called strike.
High in the air, second base. Chris Owings is underneath it, and that's a big out, number 2. You can see, of course, the Padres have that SD logo kind of branded into the back of the pitcher's mound there. SD, of course, being San Diego. Well, Josh Colmenter, whose initials are JC, seems to have come up with some artistry of his own back there. He wrote, I think he wrote his initials next to San Diego.
Nice.
It's funny.
I've seen that happen with position players before, where they left notes to the other player at the same position on the other team. You know, just scrawl a very brief, usually profane note in the dirt. And then when the guy would go out to field his position next inning, he would cross it out and leave a little note of his own.
It's like having a pen pal. 0-1 to Rene Rivera. I guess just so people know who's in charge out there. Tonight it's Josh Colmenter. 2 outs trying to strand runners on the corners here in the first. Rivera had 2 more hits last night. He's now had 4 straight games with 2 hits each. And that's not counting Monday when he technically did not have a plate appearance, walked all 4 times he was up there. This is the count that Colmenter really wants to get in, 0-2. He says he's been able to get into 1-2, 0-2 counts, and then that allows him to throw pitches that opposing hitters have to hit at, as opposed to those 2-1, 3-1 counts. And sure enough, he strikes out Rivera and strands runners on the corners. We are through 1, and it's 1-0 D-backs. Broadcast Center, and we have solved the JC mystery. The initials in the pitcher's mound put there by Andrew Kashner in honor of the late great Jerry Coleman, the Colonel as he's known here in San Diego.
We miss Jerry. He was a delight to be around. I'll tell you, he enjoyed being at the ballpark every day, had a lot of fun with it, sometimes unintentionally, but boy, he was a great one.
Favorite Jerry Coleman line of all time. Rich Folkers is throwing up in the bullpen. 1 pitch, 1 out as Marte pops up here in the second.
It's a trademark call. Oh, doctor! Oh, I used to love to hear that on the radio.
A difficult season for Padre and San Diego folks here. The loss of Jerry Coleman and Tony Gwynn. There's a patch on the Padres uniforms for both great Padre figures who passed away this year. The 19 for Tony Gwynn, and there's a JC on the sleeve on the right hand side for Jerry Coleman. 1-1 to Cliff Pennington, 259. Couple of home runs for Cliff. There it is. I wonder if Josh Colmenter felt more welcome when he went out there and
Maybe
saw.
So. Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice touch.
Very hospitable. Thank you.
Cashner, who had a long first inning, runs it full on Pennington after getting a 1-pitch, 1-out at bat against Marte. He broke his bat. Slow roller up the middle, right to Amarista, who throws him out. 2 down. Andrew Cashner. And on the DL twice this year with arm issues, as we mentioned. Came up with right elbow soreness in the middle of May. Missed 3 weeks. When he came back, he was only able to make 3 starts and then had to go back on the DL, this time with a sore shoulder. And that second trip to the DL lasted more than 2 months. He was out from June 18th until August 23rd. And tonight, his 3rd start back. Strike 1 to Didi Gregorius at 2:06.
Hey fans, anytime the D-backs score 6 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 p.m. the following day at participating locations.
Another pop up, this one in shallow left field. Amarista. That's 5 in a row set down by Andrew Cashner. D-backs lead the Padres 1-0. Season of Sons of Anarchy, premiering Tuesday, September 9th, only on FX. Josh Colmenter with a 1-0 lead set for the home half of the second. Glad you're with us on Fox Sports Arizona. Steve Berthew, Bob Brenly, Brad Steinke with you. Will Venable leads it off for San Diego. First pitch swinging is rolled to second. Chris Owings getting his first start this year at second base. Throws him out. 1 pitch, 1 out for Colmenter in the second.
You don't really anticipate any problems with Chris Owings playing second base. If you can play shortstop, pick up the ball, throw it across the diamond, you should be able to play second base just as easily. The throw is much shorter. Really, the only big difference is turning the double play at second base. Obviously, a different angle coming at the bag from second base with your back turned to the runner as opposed to coming across the bag where you can see the runner right in front of you before relaying on to first base, but that's something Chris has been working very hard to perfect.
Reimer Liriano. There's Owings, his first big league start this season at second base. After playing nothing but shortstop earlier this year, this is rolled right up the first base line and right to Trumbo. This was earlier today, BB, at Petco Park. They were working out CO at second and Aaron Hill at third.
Working on that very turn at second base that we were talking about. You can clearly see you're looking from first base towards second base, so as he gets into position to take that throw from the left side of the infield, the runner is kind of out of your line of sight. You just have to be ready to protect yourself, and the best way for a middle infielder to protect himself against a sliding runner is to get his feet off the ground. That's why you see him try to jump up in the air over the sliding runner.
Rory Spangenberg, playing second for the Padres, takes strike one, last night's hero. That one almost where he hit the home run last night, his first career homer. The pinch hit walk-off winner last night off Brad Ziegler. That's after he made his big league debut on Monday and had the biggest hit of that game, his first career base hit, a two-run single, and he got the Gatorade bath last night after the walk-off homer. And after the game, we learned that Brad has been pitching with a cartilage issue in his knee since the end of June, really, that may require, we emphasize may require, arthroscopic surgery. That one is a one-hopper right to Trumbo. And Coleman works a 1-2-3 second. He's retired 5 straight. A 7-pitch second for Josh. He leads at 1-0. Oktoberfest at Chase Field, presented by Ballpark Brand. Break out your lederhosen, brush up on your polka music as you enjoy a special beer garden in the Chase Field Upper Concourse. Plus, you get this D-Backs Ceramic Oktoberfest Stein when you purchase a special event ticket package. You got to get the ticket package to get your mug there, or the Stein, or the whole thing. For more information, visit dbacks.com/events and go up there to the beer garden. Talk a little Bundesliga. Sebastian Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, what he said. When you say break out your lederhosen, it makes it sound like I actually ever put them away. You know?
Well, why would you?
They're always right in the front of the closet.
Have them handy. That's a. You'd look like Bernie Brewer if you put those on. Coleman strikes out to open up the third.
I'll dye my mustache yellow.
That's true. He has a big blonde mustache. Yeah. Kind of looks like Cashner out there.
A little bit, yeah.
Cashner's retired 6 straight. Here's the leadoff man, Ender Inciarte, who struck out his first time up. Kirk Gibson said this week he thinks Ender has really seized his opportunity at the leadoff spot. And said this is a young guy with a good understanding of the role of leadoff man. He's scrappy, Gibby says. He gets on in a lot of different ways, which you need to do as the leadoff guy. He's a good bunter. He fake bunts. He kind of slashes. He can turn on a ball and pull it if you need him to. Real good bat control up there. And Inciarte for now will stay in the leadoff spot, it seems, even with A.J. Pollock back this month. But defensively, Ender moves to left when A.J. is in the lineup. There's A.J. Pollock back last night, the night off tonight. I feel like with Inciarte's strong throwing arm, he'll have a big impact from the corner and left. There's a strike, 1 and 2.
I mean, you think about the throwing arms of the 3 guys, Inciarte in left, Pollock in center, Peralta in right. All 3 of them throw extremely well. Occasionally a little erratic, but strong throwing arms.
Fly ball to center field. Easy play for Venable. 2 down. Yeah, I would think you would feel pretty good about a defensive outfield of Inciarte, Pollock, Peralta, left to right. Chris Owings singled and scored his first time up. His first start since the end of June, back from that left shoulder strain. Kirk Gibson said Owings' shoulder is still pretty irritable, so he gave CO the day off last night. He's in there at second tonight. There's a 2-hopper right to Amarista. Andrew Cashner's now retired 8 in a row. Diamondbacks lead it 1-0. Central standings, only 5 games separating the Pirates in third from the division-leading Cardinals. Those two were on the same field today at Busch Stadium. This was interesting. Edinson Volquez comes up and in, a Pirate pitcher coming up and in, and hits Matt Holliday. So Shelby Miller then retaliates by throwing one behind Andrew McCutchen. And everyone's warned. So I assume that we'll now see a national outrage about the idea of throwing an Andrew McCutchen. P.D. Gregorius Throws out Andrew Cashner to open up the third.
I'll tell you what, if I'm Andrew McCutchen, I think I might put my hands around some of those Pirates pitchers' throats. He's going to get killed if they keep hitting guys. They have a 16-hit batsman lead over the second-place team in the National League. 74 batters plunked going into play today.
Are Pirates pitchers getting Andrew McCutchen thrown at?
I believe so. I mean, you know, you can argue right or wrong, or you should do that or you shouldn't do that, but that's just the fact right now. Opposing teams are getting drilled with regularity when they play the Pirates, and teams are starting to retaliate. And who do you retaliate against? The other team's best player, and that's Andrew McCutchen. I think I'd have to pay a little trip to Mr. Volquez's locker after the ball game. Help him get his scope sighted in just a little bit better.
Harvey Solarte singled his first time. It's interesting to see the national narrative about what was a clear retaliation pitch thrown at Andrew McCutchen. Chris Owings handles that one. 7 straight set down by Cole Mentor. 2 down now for Alexi Amarista.
Of course, hitting Matt Holliday, who might be the hottest hitter on the planet right now, you know, that kind of instigated the whole thing, even though it didn't appear it was intentional and didn't knock Holliday out of the ball game, but the retaliation was swift.
Over the glove of Gregorius and into left center. Amarista thinks about second, but he'll stop there with a 2-out single. Alexi Amarista had a pretty good series here. He's got 2 RBIs in this series. Last 15 games, he's hit .320. And the bat is coming around a bit more so than we've seen from him before. Now we'll go into the defensive shift for Seth Smith.
Maybe a little more drastic this time. Chris Owings goes out into right field several steps and over toward the hole between first and second. And Didi is on the second base side of the bag.
Seth Smith singled his first time up. He was 0 for 3 with a pair of walks Monday. Had yesterday off against the left-hander Miley. Throw down to first. Amarista is back in time, says Jim Joyce, the crew chief down there.
That's something Miggy has been really good about. Very alert on balls in the dirt or what appear to be possible wild pitches. That runner takes an extra step or 2 down there at first base. And when Miggy gets that ball cleanly, he comes up firing to first. We've had a lot of close pickoff attempts down there on balls in the dirt.
Seth Smith having a poor second half of the season offensively, but still 9th in the National League in OPS. He's still a dangerous hitter up there. And his first inning single snapped a 1 for 29 slump. So he's at 279 now. 10 home runs during the first half of the year, but only 2 since the All-Star break. Comenter behind in the count 2-0. This is where he gets into trouble. And sure enough, Smith yanks it down the right field line. That's a fair ball, and Amarista can fly. Glenn Hoffman will wave him in. Here's the relay throw. The play at the plate is not in time, and the Padres tie the ball game. Josh Comenter has said when he gets behind in the count or he gets himself into counts where he's got to throw pitches over the plate, that's where he gets burned.
Now those predictable fastball counts against good major league hitters, and they're at least going to put a good swing on it. And that time Smith keeps it fair down that right field line. Relay throw back to Trumbo and then on to Miguel Montero at the plate, just a little bit too late to get the speedy Amarista.
27th double for Seth Smith, who's 2 for 2, and it's a 1-1 ball game. as Yasmani Grandal steps in. There's that Cole Mentor changeup, 1-2.
When Josh has the ultimate confidence in that pitch, he will throw that in those hitters' counts. 2-0, 3-1. If he feels like he can get it around the strike zone, he'll go to that changeup in those obvious fastball counts. But he's been hurt with the fastball tonight.
There's a bouncer to second. Chris Owings is there. He throws out Grandal, and that's the inning. But Seth Smith's RBI double ties the game 1-1 after 3. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. David Peralta leads off the fourth. Easy fan photo. For your chance to have your fan photo shown later in our game broadcast tonight, brought to you by AT&T. Good job so far by Leo Gilmartin, who we have officially as 2 for 2 on the road trip.
Yeah, this is when overconfidence tends to set in for Leo. He's a little too sure of himself. It's a big night.
David Peralta leads off the fourth. Peralta, a RBI triple his first time up, and he has just torched San Diego this year. 9 games, he's hit almost 400. He is 11 for 28 versus the Padres this season. Peralta's triple in the first was his 9th of the year. That's the second most by a D-backs rookie in team history, behind only David DeLucci, who hit 12 in '98. You saw David DeLucci at the alumni game.
Yeah. Looks like he could still leg out a triple.
Absolutely.
Boy, David looks like he's seeing the ball really well tonight. Sometimes just by the way a guy takes pitches, you can tell he's locked in.
Lifts that one up to center field for Venable. Now, what do you look for specifically when you're talking about that?
First of all, how does it react to a breaking ball? Now, we've seen David chase that right-handed slider down and in, the one that looks like it's going to be a strike on the inside part of the plate and ends up near his back foot. And we've seen him chase that pitch a lot recently. Cashner threw him one at a bat. It looked like he recognized it immediately out of his hand. Didn't start his hands. Nothing moved. He recognized the pitch, immediately saw it was out of the zone. Took a high change up for a called strike, but once again, didn't jump out there. His weight stayed back. He recognized the pitch. He just didn't want to hit a change up on that first delivery.
Trumbo swings at the first pitch and pops out to Spangenberg. Quickly 2 down in the 4th.
Now, that's no guarantee you're going to have a perfect 5-for-5 night at the plate, but just judging from the way he took some pitches in that at bat and the way he hit that triple in his first at bat, it looks like he's picking the ball up really well against Andrew Cashner.
Two down for Miguel Montero. We got Peralta third and Miggy fifth tonight. These are two guys that have just really had a good time against Padre pitching this year. I showed you the numbers on Peralta. Miguel Montero, he's hit over 350 versus San Diego this year, including 3 homers. He's got 12 RBIs in 14 games this season against the Padres. And he has homered twice in this ballpark. He's down 0-2 here against Cashner. Fifteenth of 19 scheduled meetings between the Diamondbacks and Padres this year. Montero, a one hopper that Amarista backhands and Grandal scoops. Andrew Cashner has retired 11 straight. We are tied up at 1 in San Diego.
We co-signed these guys, and even with Wade last night, he was not that deep, but he threw 7 innings and probably err on the side of being cautious the rest of the season for everybody.
The skipper, Kurt Gibson, with our Geico quote of the game. The D-backs starting tomorrow, and starting with that man, begin a 6-man rotation. Randall Delgado getting his first start since April 10th, and that also pushed the start of Adel Nuno back one day. Gibby was also asked about Chase Anderson, his innings starting to get up there. He said, you know, they're obviously going to bring some guys up from AAA and possibly AA, and so it's a very fluid situation, but starting tomorrow, 6 guys in the D-backs rotation, gentlemen.
And so we were told, Brad, that Randall Delgado would likely get some starts in September. He has pitched well enough certainly to earn that, and it'll be Delgado here tomorrow in the series finale against Ian Kennedy. And this is the way things will roll out heading into L.A. this weekend as El Nino gets pushed back a day.
Nuno starting that series at Dodger Stadium, followed by Chase Anderson and Trevor Cahill. I don't think that's an entirely bad idea, even if you're playing well and competing for something. This time of year, everybody's running on fumes, especially those starting pitchers that have thrown a lot of innings. And that extra day of rest sometimes makes all the difference in the world. Sometimes it's hard to get guys out of their routine. They're used to throwing every 5th day, and they don't like to change their between starts routine. But at the end of a long 162-game season, sometimes I think there's some value to giving guys an extra day here or there.
Well, you have to also keep an eye on Josh Colmenter as Rene Rivera opens up the 4th. Colmenter's innings are way up there compared to where he's been in the past. Josh, 144 innings pitched this year. Going into this start tonight, he threw 92 innings last season, working exclusively out of the bullpen for the first time in his big league career. So he began tonight having already thrown 52 more innings than he did all of last year. Two outstanding performances following that rough day in Miami when we saw the velocity drop to the low 80s. He lasted only 4 innings. That was August 17th. There was concern about his arm or his fatigue level after that, but he has bounced back brilliantly. There's a fly ball out to right field that backs Peralta up in front of the track, and that's the first out in the 4th.
I'll tell you somebody who wasn't concerned with this time of year in innings for a pitcher. That was the Phillies back in 1917 when Grover Cleveland Alexander went the distance in both games of a doubleheader.
I know you're not a doctor, but how are you able to do that? It's the same human body, isn't it?
It is. I just think the game was obviously a lot different then, and guys didn't throw 100 miles per hour and max effort every delivery. But yeah, through both ends of a doubleheader, won 5-0 and 9-3.
Got some run support.
Yeah.
Will Venable. Well, of course, with Josh following that start against Miami, when he said he felt like he was throwing a shot put up there instead of a baseball. Well, they had him skip the bullpen session between starts. That's when they first tried that after that short outing at Marlins Park when the velocity was down. And he said it's worked out pretty well. It saves a little strain on his arm, he says. Just one more step they can take just to make sure he's fresh every time as opposed to just trying to grind through it and gut it out. And it's worked. He's felt good out there lately, he says, and he's hit 87 tonight.
For Josh Colmenter, you know, those side sessions a lot of times are reserved for guys to work on a secondary pitch, or if they're not getting the kind of tilt on their slider they want, they go down on that side session and really work hard on tightening up a pitch or two, tightening up their command. But for a guy like Josh Colmenter, he's the same 3-pitch guy. He's not going to work on anything new during his side session. It's just going to be a fatiguing workout for that right arm, and if you can save him some bullets for game day, why not?
There's a bullet right at Ender Inciarte for the second out off the bat of Venable. Well, Josh says that, you know, some days he can tell when his arm feels good and when he's got that extra life on his pitches. But then he says other times it feels like somebody has strapped a 10-pound weight to his arm. And in those days it's a little more difficult to get the ball to do what you want it to do. There's no life. Everything's just kind of flat. But he has been outstanding his last 2 starts, and so far so good tonight. 1 run through 3 2/3 as Reimer Liriano steps in. They're looking for that cutter. Got the off-speed pitch. It's 0-1. Liriano grounded out his first time up. It's different with veteran guys and Schilling and Randy and those. I mean, those guys you probably throw 140 pitches, not blink.
Yeah, and their side sessions, they knew how to approach them. They didn't. It wasn't a max effort thing for them between starts. They just wanted to get their arm loose a little bit, get all the body parts working in conjunction, and get their side session in and be done with it.
In front of the wall, a very high fly ball to center field by Liriano. Colmenter a 1-2-3 fourth. We're tied up at Petco Park. Every D-backs game through season's end with the MLB.com at bat. #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone or tablet. You'll get live look-ins, replay reviews, score stats, live radio broadcasts, an MLB.tv game of the day, and a whole lot more. Download At Bat on the App Store or visit dbacks.com/mobile. Josh Colmender and Andrew Cashner as we start the fifth. Alfredo Marte, Cliff Pennington, and Didi Gregorius, 6, 7, and 8 for the Diamondbacks. As Cashner throws pitch number 50 on the night, strike one to Marte, who popped up his first time. Andrew Cashner has retired the last 11 batters he's faced. His first start coming back from the shoulder trouble that kept him out 2 months was against the Diamondbacks. That was a little less than 2 weeks ago at Chase Field. And he pitched pretty well. 2 runs, 7 hits in 5 innings. Diamondbacks won that ball game 5-2. Cashner's previous start was another no decision. This one against the Dodgers last Friday right here. And he pitched really well. 6 innings, 1 run, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. And he said he was a lot sharper in that game than he had been since his 2-month DL stint. Said the biggest thing was the movement on that sinker. Release point, the depth on the sinker. Feels really good out there right now. And he looks it. So the Diamondbacks getting a look at Andrew Cashner for the 3rd time this year. Actually beat him May 2nd before all the injury issues right here at Petco Park. A 2-0 Arizona win. But Cashner pitched well, 4 hits allowed in 6. Misses away there, and it's full 3-2.
I think for Andrew Cashner, he's just really learning how to pitch. You know, he was one of those guys that had a big arm coming up through the Cubs minor league system, could just rear back and blow guys away when he got into trouble. Just relied heavily on that explosive fastball. The slider was always a work in progress for him. The changeup has become a good pitch for him at the big league level, but I think he's now discovering you don't have to strike every hitter out. You can throw that two-seamer, get some ground balls, especially in double play situations. You can always reach back and put a little extra on that fastball if you need it, but I don't consider him to be a max effort pitcher anymore.
Yeah, he was a guy who used to come into the ball game as a reliever and then as a starter and just start throwing gas immediately. And he's learned he's doesn't have to fire all those bullets right away. Save some arm strength. He said, Bob, he thinks the biggest thing for the rest of the season for him, and we've talked about that slider, is selling the slider as a fastball, he says. What does that mean?
Well, the obvious things, same arm slot, same release point. Try not to tip it in any way, shape, or form so that the batter can't quickly discern, well, that's a breaking ball, that's a fastball. If you can make that slider look like your fastball coming out of your hand, that makes it a very valuable weapon.
The consensus here had been that Cashner maybe fell in love with that slider a little too often, threw it too much, which in large part led to the elbow and the shoulder soreness that put him on the DL twice this year. So it's something they'll watch for Cashner in September, the slider usage. Cashner's out of TCU, a first-round pick by the Cubs in the 08 draft. 19th player selected overall. Cubs traded him here to the Padres just before the 2012 season as part of the deal that sent Anthony Rizzo to Chicago.
Hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code DBACKS50 at papajohns.com. That sounds like Anthony Rizzo could possibly be done for the rest of the year. He's having a lot of lower back spasms and problems.
With Pennington strikes out, one down in the fifth.
Goes without saying, he is a huge part of their future there on the north side of Chicago, so they're going to be very careful with him.
In the meantime, Jorge Soler is getting about 4 RBIs a night. The latest prospect to come up for Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer out there. Here's Didi, who popped up his first time. Haven't even seen Chris Bryant yet or Albert Elmore or some of those other guys. Didi ropes that one down the right field line, and we'll see how fast Marte can run. It's in the corner. Glenn Sherlock going to stop him at third. And Didi has to put the brakes on and scamper back to second base. 6th double this year for Didi Gregorius, and the Diamondbacks have runners on second and third with 1 out for Josh Colmenter. He smoked that one into right.
Well, he really did. That ball was struck well. Ball down and out over the plate. He got his arms extended, just shot it right by Grandal at first.
You can see Glenn Sherlock was waving him into that point and then stopped him. Watch Didi stop after he gets to second.
Well, good running by Didi. Keep your head up. You got to watch that runner in front of you. Normally you just pick up the coach, but you got to keep an eye on the runner in front of you and make sure he's going to go before you can advance.
Infield in, Spangenberg coming home, and Marte is in there. Corey Blazer says safe. Here comes Bud Black. Now this is the thing where we get into the home plate issues. Dave Roberts on the phone, the bench coach.
Review. He's giving him a lane. There's no question about that particular part of the rule.
Like he may have slid into the glove.
Yeah, it looked like Rivera did a nice job of putting the glove where Marte was going to go, and that's right to home plate.
So Jim Joyce and Corey Blazer have the headsets on. There's the crew chief, Jim Joyce, on your right, talking to New York. Replay has been shown on the board here, and the Padres are challenging the call at the plate.
And as always, we point out it has to be clear and convincing evidence to overrule the call on the field from the phantom cam.
Corey Blazer's in a good spot there. Hard to see exactly where the plate is and the foot from that angle.
I'll tell you, under the new rules at home plate, that's as good a job as you can do as a catcher. Rivera gave him a lane to run to and slide to, took the throw, and rather than go up the line and try to tag Marte, he went right to home plate because that's where Marte was eventually going to go. Watch where that mitt goes, right down in front of home plate. Doesn't go out to tag the runner. I think that could be the difference in the play.
Is he giving him a path to the plate there for you?
I thought he was, yeah. It looked like it.
The question now becomes, is that clear and convincing evidence enough to overturn the call?
See, and under the old rules of baseball, that would have probably ended up some kind of a collision, either a sliding collision or a running collision, because really there's nowhere for Marte to go. And Rivera more than likely would have dropped that left shin guard down in front of home plate to block the runner off the plate, and there would have been no question whether he got to the dish or not.
This might be, we think, the best angle. A difficult call benefits the Diamondbacks, and he is safe at home. Apparently, we are told the call on the field stands, which means there was not enough clear and convincing evidence to overturn the call. So the run scores. Gregorius is at third, Colementor aboard at first, and it's 2-1 D-backs. Fielder's choice and an RBI.
Josh Colementor has doubled his RBI total for the year. This is what's really unfair about the challenge system as it stands right now. There are some fans down there at field level really giving it to the home plate umpire, Corey Blazer. And that call was made back in New York City.
We just looked at, well, that's one thing, but we also looked at it from 20 different angles in super slow motion and phantom cam, and you still can't tell with 100% certainty that the call was incorrect.
Right.
Yeah, but they're giving it to Corey Blazer down there pretty good. And it's not a big crowd here tonight, so you got any umpire critiques, you can pretty much hear every word.
A lot of associate umpires here tonight.
There's a bouncer. Grandal coming home. Here we go again. They have Gregorius hung up. And they overthrow it. Didi's going to come in and score. Colementor will get to third, and Inciarte is at second. 3-1 D-backs. E5 on Hervey Solarte, the third baseman.
Grandal looked up, realized they had plenty of time to get Didi at home plate. Solarte just runs right by the baseball there. Had his eye on Didi rather than on the throw from his catcher Rivera, and it gets right by into left field, allowing Didi to score and both runners to advance.
Fielder's choice, E5, no RBI. Another run in for the D-backs, who lead it 3-1. Chris Owings up now. Nice block by Rivera with Coleman, the runner at third, and Inciarte aboard at second. Diamondbacks have now scored 2 runs on a pair of infield choppers. Both went about 60 feet.
It looked like Solarte was dropping his head, getting ready to charge at Didi once he did get the throw from Rivera. He just never got it in his glove. Convoluted way for it to happen, but that's one instance where the contact play paid off. More often than not, you run into an easy out at home plate on those contact plays, but that time it worked.
Slow roller shortstop. Amarista makes the play to first. Grandal the backhand stab. Coleman comes in, and they're going to put the runners back. Catch. Interference has been called by second base umpire Marvin Hudson.
I think Inciarte possibly made contact with Amarista. You've got to give the defender an opportunity to field the ball, even if that means you have to alter your route to that next base. You see Inciarte just trying to get out of the way, but Amarista does the right thing. Come in and make contact and then put it on the umpire to make the proper call. And you could see Jim Joyce, or rather Marvin Hudson, the second base umpire, immediately pointing at the play that Inciarte interfered with Amarista.
So take the run off the board. It stays 3-1. Josh Coleman goes back to third. Inciarte is out. And Owings is aboard at first. How about this for an inning?
I'm assuming that's a fielder's choice. The third one of the inning. Third one in a row.
So it's first and third, 2 outs. And David Peralta is the hitter.
Keep putting it in play. See what happens.
In the meantime, Cashner now at 70 pitches, 50 for strikes. That one just missed Josh down there at third.
And once the interference occurs out there between second and third base, the ball is immediately dead. Chris Owings awarded first base on the fielder's choice, and Inciarte called out for the interference.
That one missed at 96. 2 balls and a strike. Looks like Cashner wanted that one. Here's another look. Ender just kind of got hung up there.
Yeah, he didn't know whether to stop and let the ball go by and then advance on to third base, or try to sneak by before, and he got caught in between and unfortunately made just enough contact that Marvin Hudson saw it out there in the middle of the infield.
Peralta smacks it into center. Now Coleman can come in and score, and now it's 4-1 D-backs. David Peralta, a couple of RBI hits tonight. He continues to torture San Diego pitching.
Boy, when he hits the ball, it jumps off his bat. We've had some hit speeds, 105, 108 miles an hour, ball coming off his bat, whether it's a long line drive, a long fly ball, or a hard ground ball. Really stings that ball.
Adventurous tour around the bases for Josh Coleman, who's now got a 4-1 lead. Mark Trumbo 0 for 2 so far.
I told that last Peralta base hit up the middle, 103.8 miles per hour off the bat. that'll tend to get through holes a little bit quicker.
One way to get it through a shift if they decide to play you that way. So David, an RBI triple in the first and an RBI single in the fifth. 3 runs in for the D-backs with a 4-1 lead now. This is in the seats behind the Padre dugout and out of play. Well, the most unusual of innings started with a walk to Marte. Pennington struck out. Gregorius doubled second and third. Clemente reached on an RBI fielder's choice. Inciarte did the same, and then he was called out for interference. And then a ground ball by Owings, and now a strikeout by Trumbo ends it. But the Diamondbacks get 3. Bottom 5 coming up. They lead it 4-1.
For the 5th inning. I mentioned the other day that his swing reminds me a little bit of former Diamondback Craig Counsell. So we dug into the purple vault. That's Counsell on the left. A lot of physical similarities between the two guys. Neither one huge of stature. Very similar, especially at the point of contact. Both guys really use their lower body well. They get a lot of hip rotation into the ball, which is why a little guy like Counsell or Spangenberg can drive the ball the way they've been able to do.
Got the walk-off winner last night. The pinch hit home run, his first big league homer. Clemente is ahead 0-2. This is the one I like. They really look identical here.
David, where's the big stick?
Obviously, the initial setup is completely different. Counsell used to, it was described one time, it looks like somebody trying to knock a spider off the ceiling with a broom, the way he used to hold his bat as he would set up in the batter's box. But yeah, once the ball is delivered, both in a very similar hitting position, both use their lower half extremely well, and both keep their head right down into the hitting zone.
Along the right field line, hooking near the seats. Peralta can't quite get there.
Walk-off homer in their first 2 major league games. At least their first or their second game. See Miguel Cabrera in his debut. Drew Stubbs in his second game. Did a walk-off, and Corey Spangenberg did so last night against Brad Ziegler. Immediate acceptance. You're okay, kid.
You can do no wrong so far. There's some nice defensive plays, too, in the series when he got the start in his debut Monday at third base. Came up as a second baseman, and he's playing second tonight. Before the walk-off winner last night, he had hit only 12 home runs in his professional career. That's in more than 1,600 plate appearances. And he strikes out here to open up the fifth.
Yeah, I shortchanged him a little bit last night in the postgame show. I said he had hit 6 minor league home runs. He had busted out for 12.
He is by no means a power hitter. Did hit .331 in AA this season. A guy they think that will hit, use the whole field, hopefully hit line drives. Andrew Kashner, the pitcher. Josh Comenter now in line for what would be his 10th win this year. That would match a career high. Kashner gets down the bunt. Comenter throws him out. 2 down.
Bunt his way on for a base hit right there. Tried to push it to the right side, get it past Comenter, who jumped off that mound, made the play, shoveling on to Trumbo for the out.
On here, Solarte singled his first time up, 1 for 2. Five games with the Padres since he was acquired from the Yankees. He's done a nice job here. Hits that one right to Peralta in right, and Comenter has retired 7 straight through 5. He leads it 4-1. Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by CenturyLink, your link to what's next, and by Jack in the Box. If the D-backs hit a home run today, score a free Jumbo Jack tomorrow with a purchase of a large drink. Back in San Diego, fans, FoxSportsArizona.com. All the online local sports coverage you're looking for. Post-game reaction from the clubhouse here at Petco Park. Jack Magruder writes about Mark Trumbo's trying season. And Craig Morgan wonders if the NFC West is as good as everybody seems to think. All that and more, FoxSportsArizona.com. Miguel Montero, Alfredo Marte, Cliff Pennington 5, 6, and 7 in the Diamondbacks 6th against Andrew Kashner. That's a fair ball, quickly one down. D-backs have won all 4 of their series with the Padres this year. Tonight trying to get a step closer to earning a split of this 4-game set before it's on to Dodger Stadium this weekend and then San Francisco next week. Ten games in 11 days for Kirk Gibson's club, all against NL West opponents. Here's Marte, who walked and scored his last time up.
You said that was an unusual inning back in the 5th when the Diamondbacks pushed across 3 runs on only 2 base hits, and possibly the oddest thing in the inning was the fact Marte led off with a walk. 37th game of the year for the Diamondbacks, only his 5th walk of the season.
He had 3 consecutive infield fielder's choice hits. They were not hits, but fielder's choice, and the oddest thing was Marte, base on balls. He has hit under 170 over the course of his latest stint with the Diamondbacks, a span of 20 games now, 16 starts. Cole Mentor with a 4-1 lead. He's retired the last 7 he's faced. There's a flare out to right. Liriano's there. 2 down. Brings up Cliff Pennington, who's 0 for 2. Two balls and a strike. D-backs in line for their first winning season against the Padres since 2011. Trying to take a step forward here tonight to a split of the 4-game series after dropping the first 2 here at Petco Park. Popped him up, third base side. Alexi Amarista calls off on Hervey Solarte, and Kashner works a 1-2-3-6. D-backs lead the Padres 4-1.
It's good to be back, and everything's feeling good.
Fans, only 9 home games left this year. Time to head out to Chase Field and support the D-backs as they take on these Padres. It's a 5-10 start. The first 25,000 fans at Chase Field get this must-have Goldie bobblehead, courtesy of Chevrolet. Got all his awards on there, the Silver Slugger, the Gold Glove. For tickets, visit dbacks.com. Can't miss that one. Got to have that Goldie bobblehead. All the awards down there. As you said, they're going to have to get a bigger platform for the next one. Alexi Amarista leads off the 6th against Josh Colemanter, who leads it 4-1. Colemanter into the 6th, but only 63 pitches. There's a strike, 2-2. The high breaking ball for called strikes. Seen a little bit more of that lately. This one is knocked into right. Alexi Amarista, the bat continues to come to life. He's 2 for 3. Brings up Seth Smith.
Went to the well once too often. Amarista able to time that next curveball and bangs it through the right side for a base hit, his 2nd of the game.
He hitches .230 during the first half of the year, but he's a little more than 30 points higher than that since the All-Star break. Seth Smith 2 for 2, an RBI double his last time up. Amarista good speed at first, 11 for 12 in his stolen base attempts this year. And there's a pseudo shift on for the Diamondbacks with third baseman Cliff Pennington standing halfway between the bag at 2nd and 3rd. Didi Gregorius on the first base side of 2nd, the shortstop. To Chris Owings at 2nd, Gregorius, and they turn it. Pretty 4-6-3 there by the Diamondbacks, 2 down. Boy, Seth Smith hit that one right on the button, but right to CO with a shift on.
Yeah, shaded several steps over toward that hole between 1st and 2nd. Didi, standing right behind the base, just had to move forward a step or two, get on the bag, and complete that relay throw. Easy double play.
Yasmani Grandal 0 for 2. And he will keep the shift on for Grandal with the bases empty. In fact, they move it over even a little bit more than it was before with a runner on first.
That's one way the game has really changed since I played. I mean, we would occasionally play a pull shift on a dead pull hitter, but certainly nothing to the extent that we're seeing in the game now. But teams actually have to work on plays like that last double play. You've got guys playing out of position. You've got two infielders, well, actually three counting the first baseman on the second base side of the bag. If a ball is hit hard to Trumbo or Owings, who covers the bag? Is the third baseman closer in the shift? Is the shortstop closer? It's a different angle for the shortstop coming from the second base side to the bag to try to turn a double play. And if you are going to play a lot of shifts over the course of the season, it's something you have to think about and work on starting in spring training. Turning double plays out of a misconfigured defense.
Guys in unfamiliar spots and throwing from those spots. This is the double play ball.
I mean, you can see Didi started from the second base side of the bag and had to run back to the base. Easily turns the double play, no issues that time because the ball was hit so hard. But as I said, it's something teams have started to work on in spring training and throughout the season.
Well, there's the 2-out walk to Grandal. You recall in his last start when Josh was so good against the Colorado Rockies, giving up only 2 hits in 6 1/3. He was pulled after just 81 pitches. And he's coming up on that now. He's at 74. And we've seen Kirk Gibson over the last week or so have a shorter leash. No one throwing as of yet in the D-back bullpen, but Josh has been a little more erratic in this inning than he was previous to.
Yeah, nobody throwing at this point. Oliver Perez was up in the last half inning doing his exercise. He's got that surgical tubing down there in the bullpen with him and has a series of exercises that he does, hooks that tubing to the fence and stretches and exercises that throwing arm in preparation of a possible call to that bullpen.
Rene Rivera 0 for 2 so far. And we wonder if we'll see in this series Daniel Hudson try to make his comeback after more than 2 years away from the big leagues and 2 Tommy John surgeries. He's here and waiting to pitch, and what a moment that'll be for him.
I don't know this for a fact, but it would seem to make sense that if you are going to bring Daniel Hudson in the game, you want to give him as much advance warning as possible. Give him plenty of time to get loose so he doesn't feel stressed or pressured to get loose quickly. Anytime you have a guy coming back from an injury for the first time in a long time, I'd rather err on the side of giving him plenty of time to get loose rather than have the phone ring, jump up, throw a few warm-up pitches, and come into the game.
Especially, you would think, if you're talking about a guy who just a few years ago was a 16-game winner as a starting pitcher, is it better to have him try and start an inning rather than come in the middle of an inning?
And his outings that he's had leading up to coming back to the major leagues have all been in very controlled circumstances. He knew exactly when he was going to pitch. He knew exactly how much time he had to get ready for that outing. This is a little different animal when that phone rings down in the bullpen.
2-2 on Rene Rivera. So we anticipate the Daniel Hudson comeback, perhaps tonight, perhaps not. We'll see how it goes. But this is right about the point in the ball game last time in terms of the pitch count, where Kirk Gibson yanked Josh Colmenter out of there. Rivera yanks that into the seats. It's still 2-2.
Caught everybody a little bit by surprise. Josh had given up a leadoff hit to Charlie Blackmon to start the ball game and then absolutely cruised right up until the bunt base hit by Drew Stubbs, and that was it. The plug was pulled.
He had retired 18 straight batters before Drew Stubbs had that bunt single, and that was it. Friday against the Rockies, only 2 hits in 6 1/3, no walks and 5 strikeouts. 2-2 to Rivera. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Third strikeout for Colmenter, who strands Grandal at first. We'll go to the 7th. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Didi Gregorius, who doubled and scored his last time up, will lead it off.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. But like I said, they're trying to find the right situation to bring me in. So, they're trying to look out for me, and I appreciate that. So it's just one of those things where I got to stay ready, and I'll be ready when they call my name.
And welcome back to the broadcast. Yeah, the Arizona Diamondbacks going to be very intelligent about they bring Daniel Hudson back to the big leagues. His arm is valuable to this team. Talking to Huddy earlier today, this whole bullpen thing is obviously uncharted territory. Just a different mentality in terms of how many pitches you need to get up. But I think, like you guys said, Bob and Steve, it's most likely going to be a situation where he knows he's going into an inning, so he has plenty of time to get prepared. And then obviously down the line, they'd be ready to use him in a spot situation. But he's ready. Believe me, he's been pacing the past couple of days. And Mel Stoudemire Jr. was saying that he's got a lot of energy out there, but they're very anxious to bring Huddy back into the bullpen.
Thank you, Brad. I'm sure they'll pick the perfect time to try and do it, make him as comfortable as possible, at least initially for that first appearance, which has been so long in coming. He's not pitched in a major league game since June 26, 2012, when he walked off the mound at Turner Field in Atlanta. Here's Didi Gregorius, who spanked a double down the right field line his last time up, 1 for 2. This one is in the air to Seth Smith in left field. One down in the 7th. And Coleman with 1 out here at 81 pitches in the ball game, 50 for strikes. Will take the at bat with 1 out in the 7th. Over the glove of Cashner. Spangenberg at second, 2 down. Garces is warming up. Sir?
Trying to keep it a secret. Conscientious guard down there. He's not going to leave his post.
And they're in Ciarte. There's a side angle.
And there's our camera up there hiding in the bushes. No wonder he didn't see the camera.
Ender drops that one in front of Liriano in right field. In Ciarte, a 2-out single.
Ciarte has that ability to lengthen his swing when necessary. Liriano had thoughts about trying to throw him out at first base. Silly boy. Yeah, occasionally on an off-speed pitch away from him especially, he has that ability to really extend his swing and get out there across the plate and get base hits on some pitches that I think pitchers thought he should swing and miss.
Kirk Gibson was talking about how he has been impressed with Ender Inciarte's real good bat control up there. Gets on in a lot of different ways. Owing singled and scored in the first. This is in the air to right field. Liriano in front of the warning track. And Cashner strands the 2-out single. Bottom 7 coming up in San Diego. Diamondbacks lead it 4-1. Comenter tonight, our APS Energy All-Star, back out there for the 7th so far. 6 innings, only 1 run on 5 hits. He has 3 strikeouts.
It's amazing. 4 starts ago, we were wondering if Josh Comenter was going to be shut down for the season. His velocity was way down. He just didn't pitch effectively against the Marlins on that road trip, but has come back with 3 of his better outings of the year, including tonight.
5 hits so far for the Padres. All 5 by the first 3 batters in the order. Oliver Perez is warming up in the Diamondback bullpen. So beyond Solarte, Amarista, and Smith, 1, 2, and 3. Not a single hit for a Padres batter, and Comenter will work to the lower third of the order here. Venable 0 for 2. After that, Liriano and Spangenberg. Will Venable, 22 home runs for the Padres last season, just 6 this year. And 27 RBIs, barely half his total from all of last season. And he draws a walk to lead off the 7th. Second walk issued by Comenter. Walked 2 of the last 3 he's faced. Mike Harkinen go slow things down a bit. Reimer Liriano will be the hitter. Conference time. 86 pitches for Josh, 51 for strikes.
The Reno Aces playing their first game of the Pacific Coast League playoffs today. The bottom of the 5th inning in Las Vegas. Reno leads 3-1. Roger Keeshnick 3 for 3 in that ball game, including a triple. Garrett Weber with a home run. Clayton Richards started that game for the Aces tonight.
That's the Aces in a best-of-5 Pacific Coast League semifinal against Las Vegas. Single I face Visalia, best-of-3 California League semis. They start tonight against Stockton, and South Bend, best-of-3 Midwest League quarters against Lake County. And of course, Mobile and Hillsborough also in the minor league playoffs. Here's Liriano. 0 for 2. Drifting near the seats along the right field line and out of play.
Visalia putting it on the Stockton porch tonight in their playoff game, 11-3 in the top half of the 8th inning.
Roll Hyde, as they say at Visalia.
And you mentioned the South Bend Ball Club. They dropped the first game of their series against Lake County 6-2 this afternoon.
Evan Marshall has joined Oliver Perez in the Diamondback bullpen. 0-1 on Reimer Liriano. Josh, in terms of stuff and sort of pace, seems to have hit the wall a bit here as we open up the 7th. Needle's getting a little low on that gas tank.
Like a lot of pitchers, when they kind of get near the end, when the gas is just about gone, they try to throw as hard as they can to pitch their way through it. Josh goes the other way. He goes softer, throws more changeups, more breaking balls, uses his fastball sparingly to set up those off-speed deliveries.
Double play potential here. Gregorius Owens will settle for one. They get the force on Venable, and Liriano reaches.
A bit of a dangerous try that time by Didi coming in. I thought he was just going to go across the diamond, get the sure out at first base, but he chooses to fire back against his own body to Chris Owens, who bounces off that bag after getting the force on Venable.
That's exactly the play that Chris Owens was out there working on earlier this afternoon with Alan Trammell and Dave McKay. Corey Spangenberg struck out his last time up, 0 for 2.
Spangenberg is getting introduced to the wonderful world of off-speed pitches here tonight.
So many rookies have enjoyed over the years.
Yeah, you know, rookies come to the big leagues, and usually the first thing you do go, can he handle a fastball inside? Well, he's proven that he can handle a fastball inside, so I wouldn't throw him another one.
And you go soft away. Time is called by Corey Glaser.
Oh, yeah, and once again in those fastball situations, 1-0, 2-0, 3-1, where the hitter's most likely to be sitting on a fastball. If you can throw anything off speed in those counts, you'll get some funny looking swings and misses.
Double play ball potential here. Didi with that fast footwork will take it himself, and they roll the double play, and that gets Comenter through 7, still with a 4-1 lead. There's 1 D in defense. There are 2 Ds in Didi. It's 4-1 D-backs. On Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Cox Communications. Bundle and save with Cox. We're in the top of the 8th inning in San Diego, and look who is warming up in the Diamondbacks bullpen. It's Daniel Hudson. It's been more than 2 years and 2 Tommy John surgeries since he pitched in a major league game. But with the Diamondbacks leading 4-1 here in the top of the 8th inning, it appears that Daniel Hudson will get the bottom of the 8th with at least a 3-run lead. And what a moment that's going to be. David Peralta, an RBI triple and RBI single. Josh Comenter managed with the help of a double play ball to get out of that 7th. And look at these numbers. 21 2/3 innings over his last 3 starts. He has been just outstanding. David Peralta strikes out against the new Padres pitcher as Andrew Cashner has come out of the ball game.
Garza's fastball slider change-up combination. Fastball not overpowering, average velocity right around 90 or 91 miles an hour. Occasionally he'll bump it up there into the mid-90s.
Mark Trumbo sends that out to right center field, and that will roll to the wall. Trumbo will head into second base with a 1-out double, his 9th of the year.
Someone had a high fastball, led her high up and out over the plate. You really have to have a quick top hand to get on top of those fastballs that high in the zone. You can see the effort by Venable trying to catch up to that line drive, but rolls all the way to the sandbox out there in right center field.
Miguel Montero. Miguel Campos, the right-hander, warming up for the Padres. Miggy knocks that into right field. It bounces in front of Liriano. They will wave Trumbo. Here's the throw. It is offline. Trumbo scores. 5-1 Diamondbacks. Another RBI against the San Diego Padres for D-backs catcher Miguel Montero. That's 13 RBIs in 15 games against the Padres this year.
Stay on that little slider, working its way toward the outside corner. Got just enough to muscle it out there into shallow right field. Trumbo got a pretty good read at second base. Glenn Sherlock windmills him around the bag. Diamondbacks tack on an insurance run.
And that's going to chase Garza's pitching change back after this. Wildcats take on the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners. Coverage begins at 4:30 only on Fox Sports 1 and streams live on Fox Sports Go. From the Gaslamp District here in downtown San Diego, Diamondbacks now lead the Padres 5-1. And we are anticipating Daniel Hudson pitching in a major league game for the first time since June of 2012, coming back from 2 Tommy John surgeries. He will apparently get the bottom of the 8th inning here. And Hudson looks ready to go, and he has been more than ready for 2 years now.
Mentally, he's been ready for this for a long time, but physically, finally able to go out there and take the ball in the major leagues as an active player once again. Big moment coming up for Daniel Hudson.
Right now, Leonel Campos, the rookie right-hander, having his big moment for the Padres. This is his major league debut, and we're told he has got a big-time slider.
Called up from Double-A San Antonio, pitched in 31 ball games down there. 14 of those were starts. The overall numbers 2-7 with a 5.60 ERA. However, he was much better as a relief pitcher in Double-A. Had an ERA of 3.65 as a reliever.
Alfredo Marte walked and scored in the 5th. He's 0 for 2. This one might be out of the stadium. A mile high up in the air and foul. Marte hits a bouncer right to Amarista, who takes it himself and turns 2. Diamondbacks add a run. It's now 5-1. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Daniel Hudson. It's been since June 26, 2012. Here he comes. Half of the 8th inning, the Diamondbacks lead the Padres 5-1. Let's take a look at our top tier player of the game, brought to you by Arco, and it is Daniel Hudson, who at one point in his career was a 16-game winner as a starting pitcher for the Diamondbacks. 53 starts in his career with Arizona, and now on in his second incarnation as a reliever. It has been more than 2 years since he was last on a major league pitcher's mound. June 26, 2012, when he walked off the field at Turner Field in Atlanta in the second inning, knowing something was wrong, and it was a torn ulnar collateral ligament. He needed Tommy John surgery to replace that ligament in his elbow, a grueling year-long rehab process as Abraham Almonte hits for the pitcher. Finally, last year, Daniel was right on the brink of coming back from the injury, and it happened again. He re-tore the ligament while pitching in a minor league rehab assignment, and so a second Tommy John was required, and now here he is. And he has got good velocity, 95 for a strike.
95 on that last fastball, a little tailing action.
Diamondbacks have been extremely cautious with Daniel's recovery process after his second surgery. More than 2 years now of recovery and rehab. Another 95-mile-an-hour pitch misses. It's 2-2. Daniel says it's kind of hard to explain how frustrating all that was. Getting so close the first time after the initial injury, and then to blow out again. All of a sudden, it's another year plus of work and rehab and all the uncertainty that goes with that. Didi Gregorius spins and throws. Nice scoop by Trumbo at first. One down in the eighth. Only 4 pitchers have ever gone through what Daniel Hudson has gone through. On Hervé Solarte, the leadoff man, steps in. He was hoping to get into one of these games in this series in San Diego. And he said if he did, it would all be worth it. He'd be able to put all that behind him and not have to worry about it again. And he could just be another guy, a normal pitcher, 1 of 25.
And put his pom-poms away. He said the other day he's been a cheerleader for the better part of the last 2.5 years. He wants to be a teammate again.
Well, as a sort of part of a concession to the 2 major elbow injuries, he is throwing the ball differently, a big change in his mechanics. He says it feels a lot different, but he's actually in a better spot now throwing the ball than he was before. Solarte drives that right at Marte in left, and yes, he hung on and made the catch. Looks like Marte may have lost that one in the lights.
Yeah, one of those humpback liners that never really gets up above the lights of the stadium. Able to hang on there. That one rattled around in that big outfielder's glove for a moment, but able to hang on for the out.
Daniel says with his new mechanics, trying to take some of the pressure off that elbow, he's found been able to work down in the strike zone. He thinks more effectively, certainly than he was when he was coming back from the first surgery. Alexi Amarista. After he recorded that first out, the Almonte grounder, Trevor Cahill flagging everybody down to get the baseball. He's consistently 95 here in this 8th inning. Tell you what, if you've got a guy that come in and really work the ball effectively down in the zone and throw 95 consistently, Diamondbacks will have themselves a very good bullpen piece here in Daniel Hudson.
Well, not only the fastball in the mid-90s, but he's thrown some really nice straight changeups at 84 with a lot of fading action. I didn't see Daniel Hudson pitch a lot in his previous incarnation with the Diamondbacks, but he has a little bit more of a slinging action now, not putting as much strain on that elbow.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Alexi Amarista. He's got a pair of singles in the ball game. He scored the Padres' only run. On the ground to second, Chris Owings. Welcome back, Daniel Hudson. A 1-2-3 8th in San Diego, and the long comeback road finally comes to an end. He's back, folks. 95 on the radar gun, and this was the reception in the dugout.
Yeah, not your normal reception after a seemingly meaningless inning at the end of a ball game in September when both teams are way out of a pennant race. But I think all of his teammates realize all the hard work that Daniel Hudson has gone through to get to this point. He got so close once before. Tonight was the cherry on the sundae, though. Got to go back out there and compete, and ideally will feel great tomorrow and become a full-time piece of that bullpen for the rest of the year.
That's got to feel amazing. I would imagine a tremendous sense of relief to, in a sense, have the process in large measure over with, and now he can just be a normal guy again. Kirk Gibson's ball club leads at 5-1 as we start the ninth. New pitcher for the Padres, R.J. Alvarez, is out there. Cliff Pennington leads off the ninth. Pennington 0 for 3. .96 from Alvarez, a ball and 2 strikes. Alvarez just called up yesterday from AA San Antonio, and he's making his major league debut. Bud Black got a lot of new toys back there in that bullpen. September rosters.
Alvarez, one of the players that the Padres received in the Houston street trade. Took their former closer on to the Angels.
July 18th, the 5-player deal. Alvarez worked 38 games this year between the two organizations. 43 innings and worked to a 1.25 ERA. 61 strikeouts in 43 innings. Diamondbacks trying to hang on and win this one for Josh Colmenter. Addison Reed appears ready to go in the Diamondback bullpen. If they can get the win, it'll be Josh's 10th of the year. That'll tie his career high.
Marshall was up and moving around down there earlier, but it does look like Addison Reed has now taken his place in that Diamondbacks bullpen.
Penny's running through some baseballs here.
He's kind of going along with the inning. He threw a few pitches just to kind of knock the rust off and get the old chicken wing a little bit loose, and now he'll just go along with the inning. Should the Diamondbacks hit for a while here, he'll just play catch every so often.
Alvarez must be thinking, what do I got to do to get major league hitters out?
Well, maybe throw something other than a fastball. He's thrown one slider in this sequence, the 4th pitch of the sequence. Everything else has been a fastball at 95 or 96 miles per hour.
His first major league hitter is turned into a 10-pitch at bat. Pretty good moss for Alvarez here. He walks him.
He did try to throw something other than a fastball and missed.
Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game for the Diamondbacks, and this is a no-brainer. Daniel Hudson, all 3 outs in that 8th inning. His first major league appearance since June 26, 2012. They got Almonte, Solarte, and Amarista. Daniel Hudson, congratulations. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool plays of the game.
Well, there have been very few bright moments in this long season for the Diamondbacks, but certainly that one's got to be right up near the top of the list. Welcome back, Daniel Hudson.
Didi Gregorius. Didi doubled and scored in the 5th. He's 1 for 3. And the plan for the rest of this year with Daniel Hudson, have him work out of the bullpen 1 inning at a time, and hope to get him about 5 or 6 appearances. Well, we don't want to overlook the AT&T fan photo. Let's see how Leo Gilmartin, our radio engineer, did. He is the Brenly committee member on this long road trip, and Leo tonight has selected as our AT&T fan photo winner. She got a D-back shirt on.
Okay. Is that the San Diego Zoo by any chance?
It might be. It's a good call.
Yeah, see, now that might work, Leo. We'll have to confirm that after the ball game.
Thanks to all of you who tweeted in your fan photos, brought to us by AT&T. Like a little more definitive San Diego background, maybe some water, an aircraft carrier or something.
Fish taco.
There you go. Tapper back to the mound. They'll try and turn 2 here, but Didi gets up the line too quickly. And speaking of comebacks, it's time for one more. We've seen Daniel Hudson, and now Cody Ross will hit for Daniel Hudson. Another sight for sore eyes. Cody's first appearance for the D-backs since July 21st. 238 on the year, couple of home runs. He's been on the DL for about the last 6 weeks with that strained left calf muscle. That's the same issue he had in spring training last year when he first signed with Arizona. Of course, he missed the first 18 games of this season, part of the comeback from that horrific hip injury suffered last August at Chase Field. And was really starting to hit the ball pretty well before coming down with a calf issue. 26 games before he went on the DL, Cody had hit .340. And he's got some complicated physiology in there. The hip issue has really lingered. Cody said he was playing football when he was a youngster, just a kid, and broke his leg, and the fibula, they've told him, actually is not completely together. It's kind of offset a little bit. And the doctor thinks that, combined with the hip injury, creates a spot that keeps straining that calf muscle. And talk about working hard to come back. This guy has been in the cage, taking early hitting, batting practice all season long, just trying to find it again.
And the reality was, earlier this season, it looked like he was not fully recovered from the hip injury itself. Yeah, there were times he labored to run in the outfield. If he put the ball in play as a hitter, he labored down the first base line. He just looked like he never was fully recovered from that. And then the complications from the calf, and just one thing led to another, and they had to shut him down completely for a while.
He had 2 plates and several screws inserted into his hip. Just a horrible injury. And Cody Ross, welcome back, Cody. It's comeback night in San Diego.
Big smile from Cody Ross. Why not? He too has gone through a lot of what Daniel Hudson has gone through, rehabbing a serious injury, starting to make the comeback trail, and then having another setback, and finally gets an opportunity here in September to swing that bat again and finds a hole in the left side. Congratulations to both.
And a lot of smiles tonight in Sedona Red here at Petco Park. Ender Inciarte. With Gregorius the runner at second and Ross at first. Ender singled his last time up. Cody, because of that hip injury, so much of his rehab process last offseason had to be about things like agility and movement following that hip injury. Wasn't a lot of time for baseball stuff. And Kirk Gibson has admitted, yeah, Cody, as hard as he worked, probably rushed back from the hip injury. And Gibby said, you know, looking back on it, he wishes they would have tried to slow him down a little bit, but that's hard to do. And Cody says he definitely plans on being a big part of this Diamondback team next year. He is determined to be the same player he was before the injury. And if he has to fight for a job in spring training, so be it. 3-0 to Inciarte. Is the strike 3-1.
Automatic 3-0 strike call. Tailing fastball well off the plate at 94, but Corey Blazer gets that right arm up in the air.
There go the runners. That is in the seats and out of play. Let's take a look at our Chevron upcoming pitching matchup. A lot of Diamondback news with guys coming back. Daniel Hudson and Cody Ross tonight. Randall Delgado tomorrow here, and the series finale makes his return to the rotation. He'll get the start as Vidal Nuno is pushed back a day. So Delgado and former D-back Ian Kennedy in tomorrow's series finale. Here's the 3-2 to Inciarte. There go the runners. It's ball 4. The bases are loaded. And they may have to get Alvarez out of there. He's thrown 25 pitches. Here comes Darren Balsley. Bud Black is out there.
When this season started, Bud Black had black hair.
Alvarez in the inning has walked 2 and given up a base hit. And now he'll work to Chris Owings, another guy on the comeback trail. Chris has returned to the starting lineup for the Diamondbacks. CO up there with 1 out and the bases loaded. Gregorius is the runner at third. Cody Ross, after his pinch hit single, is at second. Ender Inciarte after the walk at first. Owings 1 for 4. He singled and scored in the first. Chris's first start since June 25th, coming off that left shoulder strain. Once Chris could swing the bat comfortably and with the same force and form he had before the shoulder injury. He was able to come back, played 10 rehab games with AAA Reno. And tonight getting his First big league start this year at second base. Drive that one to center field. Venable. Gregorius is at third. He will tag and he will score. RBI for Chris Owings, and it's 6-1 D-backs. You hungry, Bob Brenly?
Oh, yeah, 6 runs. I love those tacos. Once again, when we're on the road. What's up with that?
What's the deal? Well, that is going to be it for the youngster, R.J. Alvarez. His major league debut, a little bit of a rocky road. Diamondbacks have picked up a run here in the ninth. They take a 6-1 lead. We're back after this. Bob, we've seen in a while.
They can pick it up and throw it. Padres had all kinds of issues. 3 infield fielders' choices in that inning. Got a run on the challenge play there at home plate. Looked like they had an easy out. Had Didi caught up in a rundown between third and home, and third baseman Solarte just didn't catch the ball. David Peralta made him pay with a clean single into center field, scoring Cole Mentor. And then the rest of the story is the return of Daniel Hudson on the mound. This was the final out of his inning of work. Big smile on his face as he got back to that third base dugout. High fives all around.
Our Gila River game summary. Now 6-1 in the ninth. We have seen the return of Daniel Hudson, the return of Cody Ross, the return of Chris Owings to the starting lineup. So a lot of good news here for the D-backs in the third of 4 games against the Padres. And the ninth inning continues now. The new pitcher for San Diego, the left-hander Alex Torres, on to face David Peralta, who's got a couple of hits and RBIs tonight. An RBI triple in the first and that RBI single in the D-backs' 3-run fifth. Oh, that protective cap, his 61st appearance.
Usually when a reliever trots in from the bullpen here, we have to wait till he turns around to see his number on the back of the jersey, but there's no mistaking Alex Torres when he comes in from that bullpen.
Throw down to second as Cody Ross wanders pretty far off the bag, but he's back in time, says Marvin Hudson. D-back Nation in the house. I just got a tweet from David Hernandez. He's watching our broadcast. Hello, David. And David is on the Twitter, and he says, "Don't worry, Bert and Bob. I'll try the tacos for you guys tomorrow." He's eating our tacos.
What a guy.
Thanks, David.
Can't wait to see David back on the field again.
It just goes to show you start to get some of these pieces back. And first of all, it reminds you how many have been missing for so long. It's remarkable. But then when guys start coming back, and we talked about all the guys, Pollock and Cody and Huddy now, and Chris Owings back as a starter, and more guys coming back hopefully after that. The pieces, once you assemble them back together, you're going to have a pretty solid group of guys.
And certainly you can't help but ask, what if? You know, what if everybody had stayed healthy this year? What if Patrick Corbin hadn't had his arm problems, and David Hernandez? And what if Goldie hadn't been hit by that pitch? You know, the what ifs will drive you crazy. All you can do is look forward to when everybody's back on that roster healthy again next year and get a fresh start.
Peralta strikes out. That ends the 9th inning. Bottom 9 coming up from Petco Park. D-backs lead at 6-1. Header. It starts with the Giants and the Tigers, and then the Royals and the Yankees in a game you can see only on Fox Sports 1. It all starts Saturday 9:30 on Fox, and then continues at 1 on Fox Sports 1 and streams live on Fox Sports Go. We go to the home half of the 9th, and the closer, the former San Diego State Aztec, is on. It's Addison Reed with a 6-1 lead. They'll face Seth Smith, Yasmani Grandal, and Rene Rivera, 3, 4, and 5 at the Padre 9th. 55th appearance for the former Aztec.
Obviously not a safe situation here tonight, but he has converted his last 11 in a row.
Yeah, he has been almost automatic. Big difference from earlier in the year when he was struggling a bit. Smith, a couple of hits tonight, a single, a double. He's driven in a run. Fly ball, center field. Easy play for Ender Inciarte. Great to see Daniel Hudson. One of the benefits to seeing Huddy pitch tonight was this is the last game going in the major league, so he's kind of got the MLB stage all to himself tonight when he worked that 1-2-3 inning, and he is trending big time on Twitter right now.
I bet he is. I mean, just think about how many pitchers out there have gone through Tommy John surgery and all that entails in making that comeback. A lot of those guys dialed in to watch Huddy make his return tonight. I'm sure they're very happy for him.
2 Tommy Johns in 2 years. Shift is on for Yasmani Grandal, who is 0 for 2 with a walk. Get Huddy back in that bullpen, and you think about getting David Hernandez back, throwing 95 and north of that like David does, coming off his Tommy John. Suddenly got a lot of intriguing bullpen pieces back there for 2015.
Kevin Marshall has shown he can be a valuable piece in that bullpen. Matt Stites, maybe the jury is still a little bit out, but another big arm, a guy that can rush it up there in the high 90s.
And Reynolds, another guy coming back from Tommy John. He's part of that ligament club they got going down there. The left-hander who was so good at the start of last year, coming over from the Rockies before he got hurt. A little bouncer. Cliff Pennington, the third baseman, has it behind the second base bag with a shift on, and the Diamondbacks are 1 out away here. Rene Rivera, 0 for 3, struck out twice.
Talked about what a run Addison Reed has been on lately. 11 consecutive save opportunities converted successfully. I think more than anything else, it's just his command. He's been able to throw his fastball on the corners at the knees. He hasn't thrown it right down the middle of the plate as often as he did earlier in the season. At times his slider has looked very reminiscent of the slider he had when he was pitching for the White Sox. Like that one, really good slider. He's just pitching with a lot more confidence right now. Feels like he can put the ball where he wants, when he wants. It's a late movement. Ooh, the ball just drops down underneath the barrel of the bat.
That's the pitch that was missing from the arsenal for the first 3 months or so. Look at that, right back at you, Addison Reed. Way to shut the door on the Padres. It's a 6-1 win. Diamondbacks now in position to earn a split of this 4-game set if they can get the win tomorrow. Behind Randall Delgado, who makes his return to the rotation. A couple of more looks at this one coming right back at you.
Got to charge that ball. Unfortunately, that glove is exactly in the right spot as his body kind of turns toward first base a little bit. At it all the way.
Addison Reed, an 8-pitch inning, all for strikes. It gets Josh Comenter his 10th win. That ties a career high. And